because of this stuff, and it's funny because they'll give these guys credit for inventing periodization. Americans were periodizing long before these writers were born. I'm still a believer that you should have about 6 weeks a year of active rest. Okay. About 6 weeks a year. It's funny. Now we call it active rest. We used to call it rest.
Right. This sounds better, right?
It just said, you go play another. In fact, I
I
suggest
love
go
this.
play another sport about half the year. Get the hell out of here.
Wow.
And then we had this period of general training. We called it the off-season training, where you worked on all your weaknesses. You tried to fix maybe your emotional issues, your weakness, your physical weaknesses, any issues with mobility. Then there was this preseason where you tried to up the ante a little bit in your sport, but still experimenting, putting yourself out there, testing things. If you had a 12-week preseason, I loved having 12 competitions as a thrower and as a coach in the preseason, and I wouldn't say every Saturday. It'd be nice to have one on a Tuesday. It'd be good to have one on a weird day, like a morning competition in a rainstorm. It'd be nice to have a competition on a Saturday with perfect weather, where everyone sleeps in and meets at 11 o'clock. However you work at, and just keep throwing different things. And then you have in season where you're going to cut the volume of lifting, and you're become very, very sport specific. Folks, that worked for generations. When America was the best in the world in track and field, we did it that way. That's how we did things, and we were the best. And of course, don't forget your beloved Werner Gunther lost to Mike Stolz at the Olympic finals, who basically trained just like I just told you. In fact, his weight workouts were as simple as Jorn Svensson's workouts. It was just one or two exercises a day. You go hard, you do some jumps, you go do your event. You clean and you bench press, you do some jumps, you go really heavy, and then you go throw the shot for a long time. And people say, well, that's not very, yeah, he won the Olympic gold medal. So I'm going to listen to that guy a little bit. And by the way, gentle listeners, if you want his programs, it's in my archives at danjohn.net, and just Google Mike Stolz, and it should come up right away. Okay.
So if we would allocate percentages of, let's say, like to become a great athlete and to win Olympic gold or whatever, you have 100%, right? So let's allocate this 100%. I'd like to get your take. How much would you allocate to mental?
100.
And give me, yeah. I know you said that last time. Mental, training, the sport specific stuff, and weight room.
Okay. So for me, I've always had a yin yang model for the relationship between the technical work and the strength room. And they work together. Now, the key is those two little eyes that are in the yin yang. So we'll say this is the strength side. So there's a little bit on the strength side that we would work technical. Maybe for my shot putter, we'd put a vest on him. Maybe for my shot putter, we'd have her throw with a slightly heavier, standing throws with a heavier shot put. So there's that. Okay. So in the way, okay, I did that wrong. Hold on just a second. So as a strength coach in the weight room, we might do knee or press, explosive for a shot putter, explosive, boom, boom, boom. Yeah. For a discus thrower, we might do some kind of safe rotational exercise. Of course, now I would just say the suitcase carrying, just leave it at that. Out on the field, when we're throwing, so we might have a little bit of wearing a vest when we shot put, throwing an overweight implement a little bit. Maybe, well, it's real obvious when you watch sprinters. Not everyone agrees with this, but if you're a 400 meter runner, there's some value in doing 500 meters for time. And there's value in doing 300 meters for time, because it's not 400, but it's, by looking at that 300-meter time and the 500-meter time, we can infer certain things about conditioning and what qualities we might need to tweak a little bit. So yeah, so for me, it's, if you can think yin yang with some technical work in the weight room, some weight work on the technical side.
So it's always you're in the sports specific field, for me to reiterate and to understand it correctly. You have the sports specific training, that's the discus thrower, right?
Yeah.
And then you sprinkle in some weight stuff on the specific
overload,
training side.
underload, a longer implement, throwing a long stick, or all those kinds of things. Yeah.
And then you have in the weight room where you do your basic stuff, you overlap it with something like you said that's some explosive work with the barbell, for example, that fits.
And it could be something strange. That's what Bondarchuk does so well. He had Dane one time. He took I think it was 40 kilos, and he asked him to so turn and then press. Wow. Bring it down, turn, and press. And it was just, he goes, because if that makes you throw farther, he would just experiment with things.
Yeah, it's the rotation, right? And then
so when I'm coaching,
experimenting,
when I'm coaching throwers, this is 12 years ago now, but when my daughter, Lindsay, we had her and Chase Callis, they did kettlebell snatches before they threw the discus, because I felt the kettlebell snatch reflected, it was an experiment I was doing with them. And then when they were doing, we also had we call it the BFR. I don't want to swear, but big effing rock. And it was about a 30-pound rock, and they would turn and throw it. So out on the field, while they were throwing the shot put in discus, they were mixing it with kettlebell work, some heavy rocks, and we had a heavy vest that they would do some throws with. Actually, it was a heavy sandbag, and they would snap it. So it was like, do you know what a good morning or hyperextension?
Yeah.
So it was a throwing hyperextension.
Oh, wow.
And it wasn't, and I kept that muted because I was worried about hurting the back.
Yeah, most definitely.
So to me, that's the ultimate. It's called mixed training.
Yeah,
it's when you're lifting and throwing.
Yeah.
Or
combining it. Yeah.
At the same time. And that comes from Peter Sheen, the great German coach.
Peter Sheen.
Tshiene.
Tshien. Chine.
Chine?
Yeah.
Peter Chine.
I gotta check it out. And a German coach?
Yeah.
German coach. All right.
Hard to find his material. Hard to find it.
Okay.
There's a lot of great coaches that didn't write books and were before the internet, or they were like, and so you have to go to like old magazines. So up here, back here. Yeah. So just to let you know how, I don't just sit around and smoke dope all day. I work hard.
Yes.
So this is Discobolus magazine from 1963. Smells like old library in my office because it's an old library. And I have these studies that they were trying to do. December 1965,
So much value.
Yeah. And so what I do with these is this gives me a chance. Like the Brits had a guy named Bill Tancred and Howard Payne, and these outstanding coaches that really we have forgotten a little. The Brits probably, I hope, didn't forget Howard Payne. But there's these great coaches that Howard wrote a couple books, but some of the others never wrote books. So we don't, and of course, who's going to read a book, when I can go online. Yeah.
Well, my question, Dan, you see value in mimicking the sport specific exercise, let's say, like for example, let's take another example, a baseball pitcher.
No.
So you see value in experimenting using your sport specific exercise like the
Okay.
pitch.
Can I tell you what I do with pitchers?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Okay, so yes, we do use heavy balls, but we don't throw them this way because it's too hard on the rotator cuff. We throw heavy balls this way. So you got the ball and you throw it backwards so that, if you read Meyer's anatomy trains, we're trying to build up the opposite train.
Mm-hmm.
Here's an interesting thing with American baseball, and I recommend this to javelin, a spear tossing,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
suitcase carries for pitching speed. When you do suitcase carries, somebody explained it to me after I told them to do suitcase carries to throw the ball faster, and then their physio, their trainer figured out why it worked. I don't care why it worked. If you throw faster, we're doing it. I don't want to know why.
It works.
It worked, man. I don't care. Jeez, 90% of my coaching is I don't care. Did it work?
Let's do it.
Let's do this. I mean, so with this pitcher, maybe on the field, we might have a medicine ball because I want two hands will be safe, or just doing explosive stuff. Suitcase carries and these backward throws would
Mm-hmm.
blend in very nicely on the field of play.
Mm. And if you would say, okay, let's have the pitcher throw a heavier ball,
No,
doesn't this interferes, right, with his?
it's interference. Yeah.
So that's what we have to understand is the sport specific training that can really help, like for example, building up your brakes, right, with these back throws, right?
Yeah, exactly what you do. Yeah.
Right, but at the other hand, you don't want to interfere with the basic movement. For example, a basketball player starting dribbling with a heavier ball, no, this mixes up your perception, right, and your fine tuning skills.
Was it that wonderful little thing? It's that bicycle that the guy made, and when I turn a bike this way, it goes this way. Well, he engineered it so when you go like this, it goes this way. And it's a way to study what's called neuroplasticity, how your brain works. Mm-hmm. And to be honest, I could not ride this bicycle. Now, if I practice on it every day for a couple of weeks, I will learn how to ride this bicycle that goes the wrong way. Here's the funny thing. When I jump on my normal bicycle, there is a few minutes where I can't ride a bicycle anymore. Now, the interesting thing why there's a phrase in American English, the phrase is, it's like riding a bicycle. So like if you've been celibate for a long time, but you've had sex before, you kind of remember how to do it. Mm-hmm. It's like riding a bicycle. Mm-hmm. If you haven't typed in a long time, within a few seconds, it's like riding a bicycle. What's interesting that they say about this neuroplasticity is that you'll be sitting there on your old bike, the one you grew up as. You started riding this when you were 5, you've been riding bikes your whole life. And then all of a sudden you'll go, oh, and you remember how to ride a normal bike again. And it's been an important insight from this is that what we think is happening is that when you throw these heavy balls, is that you're actually just starting a whole new set of synapses.
Yeah.
But the problem is now you have competing synapses in your brain.
Wow. I love this.
And you have this is a maybe, folks. Mm-hmm. But now, is there value in having multiple ways to do something? Yes. But going from the violin to the viola, going from the violin to the bass, mm-hmm. you might be fine. Mm-hmm. But going from the violin to the viola, you might have more struggles because they're a little too close.